While you're settling in, I'll just say a little bit about this committee here, right? Alejandra Plashinsky has been a silent voice till now. She'll be introducing Malini, but she was a student in the course last semester, and she was really the most persistent brainchild, if you will, of this idea. So Alejandra said, we should have a TEDx. I'm ready to do what it takes. Let's make it happen. And that's why, really, we were kind of spurred with that. Ian Johnstone is here. I think I'd mentioned that there was a student who was saying throughout the semester that she wants to make this happen. Now, Leland Lazarus, who you saw earlier, right? Leland, just stand up. Here's, he's been a TA, like a fearless leader for the class. And just take a look at him and mark my words. He is going to be a president in the future, okay? And not just because he looks like Obama, okay? Because he's the balance of hard work, humility, intelligence, and he's really been a spearheading force for this. Megan, I've been blessed with another just amazing TA for the course and a champion of public speaking. She's probably ushering people in. Oh, she's right here. Megan it's just such a joy yesterday. She had to decide between Fletcher Follies or working with one of our speakers. And she made a decision. So Megan, I mean, just publicly, I want to thank you for how amazing you've been. And then there's Mary Dulatre, the head of student affairs, who's been here. She's been part of the first public speaking movement, and she's just so engrossed in her work that she's missing out on some of this fun. And I just want to very publicly thank you sincerely for all your support to date. About a little round of applause, please, for this organizing committee. And now that we are all settling in, and Mary's given the thumbs up, Alejandra is going to give you just a little more of an introduction on Malini.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. How lucky are we to have Malini here, honestly, and particularly because her work truly reflects her major, or her studies during Fletcher. Of course, international environment and resource policy are very, very linked to this documentary that she's going to present. I'm kidding. What I'm trying to say is that inspiration doesn't necessarily come where we look for it. And a true story of this, how inspiration comes and what we convey with it, is what Malini will show us. So give it a hand for Malini.
Well, thank you for that extraordinary introduction. Thank you so much. I am so thrilled to be back at Fletcher. I love being at my alma mater. You guys will learn that when you go out of Fletcher, Fletcher stays with you. And I've run into Fletcher classmates walking down the street in Bangkok. I mean, it's just, they're everywhere. So I thought when I walked in the front door, how would I feel? I just felt like I was at home. So thanks for having me back home. Today I'm going to talk about a short documentary that I did. As Alejandra said, it's nothing connected with my major at Fletcher, but it was a personal life experience that inspired me to tell my story, and I want to share that with you, and I hope it'll inspire you to tell your story. How do you communicate? As for me, I'm a pack rat. I have thousands of letters in my closet. I have VHS tapes. I have old photos. I have tons of old media, right? That usually all of it that's relegated to an old hard drive or a closet. You don't think anything of it, but really it's a treasure trove in there. There's so many things you don't think you could use. Today I want to talk about a lot of video I did. I had archival footage, and it turned out to be the basis of my documentary. So I'll talk about, one thing I wanted to mention is all that old media that you have, it's a treasure trove that can be used with all the new methodologies out there to communicate. You can actually blend it all together and use it for effective storytelling and messaging. And that's what I did for my documentary. So what happened? Why am I telling a story to you today? 3 years after I graduated from Fletcher, I was working in the environmental field, and then boom, my dad had an accident, and he broke his neck, and it paralyzed him from the neck down. And he had the same level of injury as Christopher Reeve. He was on a ventilator, and being an Indian dad, he didn't want to be a burden on us, so he decided to disconnect his ventilator. And I didn't know what to do. I'm also a lawyer, and I thought, okay, well, I'll just talk to the forensic psychiatric team and we'll get it covered. Well, not so much, because he's competent and he could do that. So to empower myself, I just pulled out my handheld video camera and started filming. And I didn't look at the footage for 6 years. Incidentally, I ran into a Fletcher classmate in 2013, and she did a documentary on female infanticide in Armenia. And I said, you know, I have this old footage that I want to do something with. She said, make a documentary. I said, I have no idea how to do that. I can't even use iMovie. And but it got me thinking, and I thought, well, let me set out to do this and figure out how to do it. The first thing I did is I looked at my assets. What did I have to make a documentary? So I had that archival footage, hours and hours of it, 30, 40 hours. This is just a screen grab from the documentary. What else did I have? My mom, she's a doctor, but she's another one that had media in her closet. She recorded an album 25 years ago. And actually, the funny thing was, the same time I was doing the documentary, she put it on YouTube. She's like, oh, beta, I put it on YouTube. And I was like, oh, that's great. And I listened to it, and the words are literally a soundtrack to her life and just fit right into the documentary. So I had music. I used my mom's music. NPR done an article about my dad. We got him a traveling board so he could vote in the last presidential election. I took the audio from that and used that in the documentary. And those old photos that are embarrassing, but they really tell a story. My dad was traveling the world with my mom. You know, we had a nice childhood. And then, you know, how things change. So then, now what? I have all this stuff. I have all my resources. Like, I'm sure you have, you know, all your media. And I mean, you're Fletcherites. You've got amazing stories to tell. I don't mean, there must be a million countries you've been to and so many stories you have to tell. But how do you tell it? I took a guerrilla filmmaking class in New York City because I didn't know what I was doing. Learned lighting. I narrated myself, set up my camera, bought a tripod. Started just learning. Took a 10-day course. Went through all my footage, narrated it together, and thought about what I wanted to tell and tried to keep it simple. And I put that together. And then I'm like, oh, editing. You know, the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Like, what do I do with editing? Sign up for Apple one-to-one. $99, and then just worked it to the max. I think I probably used it more than anyone else who's used Apple one-to-one. Went to Apple like 65, 70 times. Each time I'd be there for 2 hours, sometimes 5 hours. I'd lived there. I got a reputation there. And edited, you know. So yeah, I didn't know iMovie, and now I can, you know, maybe, you know, I know Final Cut Pro, and I edited the whole thing on my own. So if you want to tell a story, there's a way to tell it. You can just, if you're inspired enough, you'll find a way to tell it. And now I want to share with you some clips from the film and talk about a few little methodologies I used during the making of the film. And we're going to look at the trailer first.
We're going to do the act on Wednesday, right?
What's it?
Yeah, we're going to finish up things on Wednesday.
You're the best dad in the world.
How many dads have you had?
You know, your choice and your decision, whichever way it is going to be.
My last 5 months I've been able to have a cliff hanger, but it rained last night. So therefore, hanging on a cliff has become a little more difficult.
You can see all that archival footage that would have been sitting in my closet became something. It became something to tell a story. And now I'm going to share with you. And by the way, the name should tomorrow be. I was just chatting with a cousin, and you know, we were talking about we don't know if tomorrow will come. That's why you have to live every moment today. And so that's what it was. So we're going to show you just 4 short clips from the movie to demonstrate a few things. The first one I want to show is stringing together that music from my mom, the NPR audio, those old photos, and the archival footage.
He injured his spine in a fall at his home in Schererville, Indiana, near Chicago. His injury is identical to that of the late Superman actor Christopher Reeve. Before the fall, Dr. Goel, a retired cardiologist, was active, traveling the world with his wife. Now he can't feel any part of his body below his neck and breathes through a ventilator.
What you can see, you pull all those things together, and that was just done after hours and hours and hours at Apple, putting everything together, even making sure the words go with the pictures. And the next clip is, I studied international environment and resource policy and conflict resolution. So the next one takes negotiating and conflict resolution to an extreme, and also reminds us that even though this is a poignant story and life is tough, you need a little bit of humor too. Being an Indian father, of course, he wanted to get us married.
Both kids have been very successful in dodging Cupid's arrows so far.
He wanted both of us to get married in the next 2 days. Yeah, that wasn't going to happen.
Getting married? Yeah, I'm okay with the idea. Oh, in 2 days? That seems a little soon. Well, then don't die in 2 days.
And then somebody loves me? More important? Who says cool cats?
Cool? There's lots of cool people. Cool. Jay? Jerks. Lots of cool jerks.
I was trying to find a nice guy, Dad. So, it's a right to die story, but there's some humor in it, and it shows how we use humor to handle the difficulties in life too. So I made sure that I put that in documentary at chosen areas so that people aren't going to be totally Debbie Downer and walk out of the movie theater. And just to show you that this is real, this is unscripted. The next one I want to show you is I had a community member in our Chicago community, a 17-year-old girl who composed a piano piece for this, and I juxtaposed it with dialogue. And the music makes it so powerful, I even had a hard time editing because it even moved me so much. Maybe I would want to die too, I don't know.
Everything that comes someday has to go.
Well, what if we don't want it to go?
But that's God. That's the Lord's will.
But what if I have a chat with God? Maybe he'll change my
And
mind.
maybe you should have a trust factor. God.
Are you chatting with God?
All the time.
When I went home to sleep, I would play tug of war with God. I was telling God, spare him. We can handle him. Just don't take him. Just don't take my dad. We can handle this. I don't really remember filming, but I do remember subconsciously wanting to document my dad's last moments. I wanted to hold on to them so they would never die, even if he did.
I pray for the happiness of the family.
So that was a lot more. I don't know if it touched you the way it touched me, but the music really, it's another tool you can use. And again, what are your assets? It was just a 17-year-old in our community who was like, sure, I want to do the music. And the last clip I want to show you is I'm not going to tell you the ending of the movie because then you wouldn't go watch it. But I want to talk about using silence because sometimes silence is the loudest way to convey your message. Just wanted to say that I love you, Dad. This is also Friends music. As long as there's life, there's hope, right? For when I get married one day. Can I have your blessings, Dad? So in that clip, I tried many different things, music, ambient noise, and the best thing I thought was just silence, because I thought that was the most powerful way to convey the distance that was being created. So there's more. You're not going to see it, but this is what I've showed you. And a picture's worth 1,000 words. Video was the right way for me to do my project, was the right medium that I used. And just want to thank you very much for watching. And then, oh, there's one more. And yeah, oh yeah. Oh, one more picture. One of my favorites, our cat. And that's a sip and puff wheelchair. And he can operate that with a straw. And so, you know, can do laps around the driveway. And the film has won some awards and will be premiering in New York at the New York Indian Film Festival on May 9th. As you mentioned, it's being used for palliative care physicians, so doctors can be better empowered when they're dealing with patients who deal with life and death decisions. For instance, we had no help. During that time, there was no one I could talk to. So I just submitted an abstract with a physician for a conference next year also that can empower care providers and patients, and who knows what else the journey will be. So I was inspired to tell my story. What is your story? I would love to give you that inspiration, and I hope to see your story one day too. Thank you.